Hi, I'm Shlomi Ron. I'm the CEO of the Visual Storytelling Institute. We're based here in sunny Miami, Florida. And today I have a very exciting topic to chat about. You all read the news about the metaverse. You probably heard Mark Zuckerberg last month talking about his rebranding from Facebook to Meta that started all kind of interest in what is this metaverse, and especially us marketers, how we can take advantage and really tell compelling visual stories in this new metaverse. So to help me out, kind of unpack this new virtual world, I have the pleasure to invite Dirk Lueth. He's the co-founder and CEO of Upland. And Upland is, if you can think about a monopoly trading game, well, this is the same thing, but with the power of the blockchain, the NFTs, and with the opportunity for players making money as well. So today's topic is going to be pretty much how can brands create meaningful metaverse strategy. So that's our focus for today. And with that, I'd like to welcome you to the show.
All right.
Welcome, Dirk.
Yeah, thank you, Shlomi, for having me. Really excited to be here. And, brands and storytelling, I mean, there's some kind of my passion. And I, love to help everyone to understand a little bit more about the metaverse. There's so many things out there these days.
Exactly,
so,
very confusing. Yeah, but before you're going to touch on all these exciting things, let's start from the beginning. I'm sure people will be curious to know about your backstory, how you what was your journey like? How do you end up in VR and metaverse? Maybe you can kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, so we're based on blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, which is also quite important. So this topic has excited me for a very long time. So when I go all the way back, I did research. I did my PhD about private and state-controlled currencies. So we looked at how private currencies are working, and that was actually before Bitcoin and all the other currencies came around. And
I see.
At that time, I did not really take the bridge to say this is going to be all electronic. It was more like a traditional paper money type of thing. Yeah. Anyways, it was interesting to see. And that's how I got into the whole blockchain space and got really early involved in 2011, which makes me somehow kind of an OG.
Oh, yeah, you're a veteran, yeah.
Space. And I always said, okay, this is groundbreaking. This is going to change everything. And we will clearly see that also going forward. And then back in 2018, I put myself together with Manny Honigstein and Ilan Zuckerman, my two co-founders of Upland. They're from the gaming space. I was more the blockchain person.
Got it.
Entrepreneurs, the three of us. We've started some companies before. And we said, hey, we got actually together one night. We were playing Monopoly. I was talking about blockchain and so on.
Right.
So the one thing lead to the other. I said, wouldn't it be great, we take this idea of Monopoly, was our inspiration here, add a little bit blockchain to it, because blockchain gives you, I can elaborate on that a little bit later,
right? Yeah,
ownership of assets to people, and then maybe the real world, right? And off we go.
Right.
Upland was born.
No, that's really amazing. I just read, all the about section on your website, and the story of how you guys really figured things out, that it's the right timing as well. I mean, it couldn't be better. And the whole world is looking right now for metaverse use cases. So before we get deeper, let's start very simple, kind of baby steps. And of course, if you can give our audience your definition for what is the metaverse, and just, from your perspective.
Yeah, I try.
Yeah,
I try, because there's so many definitions out there and different viewpoints and so on. But I try to make it super simple. What I always say, it's like a parallel world where you assume one or multiple identities, right? It can be multiple persons, and where there's no limits for your imagination, what you can create. You do things in there and you experience things in there, and you own things. So these are how I would describe it: owning, experiencing. That's what the metaverse is about. This is also what has changed, when you think about traditional media and social media. you know, in the metaverse, you're active as a user, and this is also very important for brands to understand. You know, that it's not, you know, just people not scrolling or they have passive, you know, lean back type of consumption of media. It's really all about experience and activity.
Right. And for those folks that can still rewind back and say, well, how's that different from a Second Life, for example, when they remember that, is the main difference is really the blockchain backbone?
I think the blockchain backbone is one very important component of it. I mean, since, you know, Second Life was founded or started early 2000s, obviously technology was not as far as advanced as now. So you have also, of course, other technology components playing into it. But why now is, to my mind, it's really because of blockchain. Because blockchain enables this true ownership. True ownership means that people can sell what they have and to others. And when you own something, you start becoming much more creative around things, because when you say, okay, I don't own it, you know, it's like take when you rent a house, right? You say, okay, I'm renting here, you know, I don't care, right? Really how it looks like when something breaks.
Exactly.
The house, right? And you put really time and effort into it and do stuff. And it's very much like what you have today in the metaverse. And that's why I think somehow for let's say for Second Life, this part was missing, this ownership.
Right. It was more kind of like a showroom that brands kind of bought space and created experiences, but, you know, there was no skin in the game for the users. Right. Got it. All right. And since we're wearing here the visual storytelling hat and, you know, try to look at how brands can create more engaging visual stories, I'm kind of wondering, how do you define visual storytelling from your point of view?
Yeah, so first of all, you as a brand, you have to extend your appearance into the metaverse, right? So, and of course, it depends what kind of brand you are, right? Some brands are very easily can be, you know, transferred into the metaverse. Let's say when you are describing an example, when you're a car brand, right? So it's easy, you know, you have now maybe your sports car, let's say your Porsche, and right, and now you can, you know, take the Porsche and maybe allow that to be in part of the metaverse, and people can drive it around. So that's very simple. It gets more complicated when you think about, let's say you're a producer of shampoo, right? So what do you do really with shampoo? And, you know, so there's the use case is not very obvious.
Right.
And I mentioned earlier that in the metaverse, what is important, that you need to actually think community first. How do you involve the community?
Right.
And that is also because the metaverse has its origin obviously in gaming. So also we, you know, I mentioned earlier, we got inspired by Monopoly. That means we're coming from the gaming perspective. So when you're a brand now, you take the aspect of gaming and you take the aspect of community together. That means you create those experiences. Maybe to give you one concrete example, let's stay maybe with the shampoo producer, right? So maybe you are a producer of shampoo. So you can now say, okay, you know, I'm going to sell shampoo, but, you know, okay, maybe people are going to use the shampoo to wash the hair of their avatars and maybe look nicer. And after, you know, a while, you know, when they haven't washed their hair, you know, it doesn't look so nice anymore. So that's one thing. But it could also, because I mentioned earlier that there's no limits to imagination. So what you could also do is, so let's say you own shampoo, you wash your hair, and now when you gamify it, that means now all of a sudden when you wash your hair, you know, regularly, right, you get some superpowers. Maybe you can move in the metaverse, or you can do something else. That's what it's about, imagination, right? So you have,
it's like the Tamagotchi kind of old concept that you have to kind of feed it every day, and it kind of evolve over time.
Yeah, absolutely, right. So that evolves over time, it changes, and you need to. That's what is so important, that because when you're a marketeer today, when you come out and you say, okay, I have here my brand, of course you have some you know, packaging or whatever, and you try to put that into commercial and whatever, right? But now you really have to go one step further, right? What other attributes can you associate with your good and extend that into the metaverse?
I see. And I'm curious, you know, obviously what you described right now is a use case where the functionality or utility lives only in the metaverse. Do you see also execution where it goes offline to get like a real benefit offline, not just in the virtual world?
Yeah, absolutely. So for instance, Upland is based on or mapped to the real world. So I clearly see use cases. We don't have that yet at this point, but clearly use cases where people start maybe doing something in the metaverse virtually, and then but as you said, they maybe have some superpowers, because now they have the superpowers. They get a certain NFT, which is a non-fungible token, right? A certain asset, but they can now take this NFT, go into a store, because they can show it maybe on the mobile or whatever. And now they get maybe access to something other special, right? So you have to create the whole story around it. So people go back and forth between the virtual and the physical world, and that's where you, as a brand, you have to start thinking, what kind of context, what kind of backstory can I put it in?
I see. So again, it could be like maybe creating this cross-media experience where you can actually redeem, your NFT as a coupon to get some discounts, maybe ticketing. There's a variety of things that, from marketing terminology, incentives that we can actually apply here, but just kind of overlay them with a metaverse execution. Cool. So I wanted to think about since we talked about the metaverse and a few examples, maybe you can give us your overview of Upland, what is it about and what people can do there. Just give them like the lay of the land.
Yeah, maybe. So Upland was actually launched last year, and when we say it's the Earth's metaverse, and I mentioned it before, because we are mapped to actually the world, to the real world. And we always say Upland is based on 3 strategic pillars. You see it in the background here: play, earn, connect. So what does this mean? So play means people can, when you download, we are available also on all devices, iOS, Android, and so on. But when you download the app, you get a map application. You zoom in. And I suspect that all of your listeners know how Monopoly works, right? You have to purchase streets and collect them and so on. So I think mechanic is clear. But so Upland has a similar mechanic, right? So you zoom in and you see the actual parcel borders of a property, let's say 2, 3, 4 post street or something. You don't have to be in the cities to play. We're currently live in 15 cities across the US, but you can zoom in, you see the property, and then you can purchase it. And once you become the owner, the true owner of it, you start earning an income, what we call yield, in terms of our in-app currency. This is currently 70% a year. So you start earning just for the pure fact that you're owning it. Now we gamify it in the sense of that you have to complete a collection. So collect 3 properties, maybe on the same street, with same characteristics, which is kind of easy to get, but maybe 3 museums, which is a little bit harder to get, right? And then your yield actually increases. And then that sets in motion the whole trading between players, because they have to optimize their collections and all this. So that's where there's a lot of interactivity. So then we have other game engagement points, how we call it. We have treasure hunts. You have to find stuff in the city. We have scavenger hunts. We have live tours, like we had the San Francisco Love Tour or Chicago Mob Tour. We had to go through different places and so on and experience that. Soon we are introducing actually also cars, so people can actually go from A to B with a car, or race through San Francisco virtually with in a car race. So that's the first pillar. Then the second pillar is actually earn. That means this is what is all new about blockchain games. It's also called play to earn. People can now build houses on their properties and can run and operate shops there and sell NFTs, non-fungible tokens, digital assets, to other players. So now you can eventually, let's say you're a specialist in virtual water fountains. Now you create a virtual water fountain and sell that to another player who wants, to beautify his property. So
this is like an OpenSea store, right? This is like an OpenSea store where I keep my NFTs. So you just
That's what you can do, or you import digital art, right? We have a gateway where you can import digital art from other blockchains also, and maybe you run and operate a digital art gallery.
I see.
So we have the first people also who want to start stopping their, their daily daytime job and want to make money only in Upland, or earn money in Upland, and as a job as such, right? And this is very interesting in the sense of, because you can sell also for US dollars in our platform. You don't have to do it just in app currency. You can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to sell this virtual water fountain then for, for US dollars. That's how you extract monetary value out of it.
Right, but when you want to start when you're new on the platform, do you need to actually, like, in OpenSea, you need to basically invest X amount of dollars in order to convert them to Ether, right? So do you need to do that on Upland as well?
Well, that's a very good question. So the way we build Upland, we always said we want, let's say, average people on there and not crypto aficionados, right? We have,
Okay.
so it's super simple to sign up with Upland, just the email and the password, and then you're basically in, and then you get a little bit, free UpX, which is our in-app currency, and then you can purchase your first property. Yeah, and so which is and so it's, and we have properties, depends on the area. Sometimes we sell properties for 50 cents, that's low, right?
Oh, I see.
Then a Rockefeller Center sold for $40,000, right?
Right.
Of course, when it's a famous
I
place.
see.
But it's, it's really attractive for everyone. And what is very unique in Upland, at the beginning, you have actually a visa, because what is unique in blockchain, because when you own something, we cannot take it away from you anymore.
Right.
So, but in the beginning, we keep, let's say, the private keys. That means we're still in control of the assets.
Right.
Until you own 10,000 UpX or have a net worth of 10,000 UpX. Which is equivalent of $10, and then you move from becoming a visitor in Upland, becoming an Uplander, a citizen of Upland, and then you keep your assets forever. So, but that's how we do it. But it's very easy to get into it. And what we recommend, and that's actually the third pillar, it's connect. We're also creating communities around different neighborhoods in Upland, and right now you can go on Discord and meet like-minded people there. It's really a place also to socialize with others.
Got it. Yeah, no, this is exciting. I actually signed up and really kind of experimented a little bit and see, what you can do. And it's really fascinating. I was kind of wondering, obviously there's the emotional aspect that people looking directly into places they used to live. I went directly to New York, used to live there in 2 rounds. And checked out the addresses I lived at, and I'm kind of wondering, this kind of bring up the question, like, if you have a legal owner of the physical property, does it have any advantage for the virtual one, or it's open for grabs?
It does not. No, it's just a second layer on top of the real world, and so that's but no real advantage, unless of course the area and what's hot. Then
I see.
You can use that knowledge, right?
Got it. Another aspect was kind of interesting. When you're ready to sell a property, I noticed that you recommend that you compare pricing in the area, do kind of your research as if you normally do it offline. And then you set your price, right?
That's correct, right? First of all, we always tell people, before you start buying something, go into our community, get advice. Our community is super helpful, right? For newbies or new players, right, coming in. And then you have to do your research, right? Why is certain, what is the price for certain properties? Of course, so the way it works is, when we sell properties for the first time, users can mint those properties, how we call it, for the first time, and they're quite cheap. But obviously, users then can sell them, or Uplanders can sell them to other players, and now the prices are going up, right? So at the beginning, you must have an interest to get, those cheaper properties, but then eventually, when you want to buy something, let's say, for instance, New York is sold out, and want to buy something on Fifth Avenue or Madison, then you obviously have to buy it now from a different, from an existing player, right?
Got it. Yeah. So going back to how brands could play in this interesting sandbox called the Metaverse. Can you share a little bit about what you've seen so far in the marketplace, brand strategies that really work in the Metaverse?
Yeah, I think most of the brands, experimenting. When you go back to traditional brands, right? Of course, you have let's say, the blockchain native brands. They tend to move a little bit faster, and they have the technology people, and but we've seen all those larger brands like Nike coming in, it's all across, and then it always depends what you want to do. But what I explained earlier, you have to think about 3 things when I put it like that. When you, what we always tell brands when you want to enter the Metaverse, first of all, is the gamification, right? Because we're coming from gaming. So can you gamify your brand, right? That's it actually, is that not harming your brand, what you're doing on that end, right? So we have to think about that one. Because also when you enter metaverse, and the metaverse is, let's say, a fighting environment, right? Where people always fight, right? Lots of brands don't want to associate it with that. To give you one example, right? It's a gameplay, right? Fighting, one-person shooters and all that. But not all brands want that, right? So you have to think about what is the environment of the brand, and in terms of the game. The second is then what we call is their geolocation, right? In Upland is very special because we are mapped to the real world, but also other parts of the metaverse. There's always interesting areas, right? So who else is there, right? Who's your neighbor, right? Maybe you as a brand want to associate it maybe to a celebrity, I don't know. And maybe you already have an existing contract, like with a celebrity, and maybe you want to be near that place.
So this is like a metaverse influencer in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. so that could be beneficial for you. So the geolocation or location is also important. And then you have to think about the context, and the context is is something happening? Is there certain events? Like maybe there's a Super Bowl right now, and maybe you want to do something in Los Angeles this year, right? Or next year, next year. So because this is events and context always
time sensitive,
back to and then people come and have a reason to check something out and so on. But those things, geolocation, context, and gamification, is what you have to get your heads around as a brand, how you can leverage that.
No, this is fascinating because from what I've seen, and you touch on all those points, it could be from just a simple NFT drop, which is branded around the brand, to custom experience, to a gamified experience on the various gaming platforms, to creating a whole standalone universe, which takes much more effort. But just to make it more realistic for our audience, maybe I could share 2 examples and you can talk about them.
Yeah, so this is a partnership which we have with Spirit Halloween. Obviously, Halloween is a big thing here in the US, where we did this partnership where we actually allowed our players to use ornaments of the brand Spirit Halloween and to decorate their homes. So you saw that in the so when they're building homes, and like in real life, like you decorate your home.
Oh, you decorate for the holiday, exactly.
Now you could do the same thing. By the way, we also have a holiday decoration events now, because just before Christmas is also going to happen.
Right.
So that's also something. So that was one thing. Then people were able to purchase unique, what we call block explorers. These are our little game pieces, which had actually the characters from Spirit Halloween, which were using their brand. So like this, people experience that. When they're using now the block explorer, this is why they play the game. This is the game, it's the context, it's Halloween obviously, and geolocation is the place, is your house where you put it, right? To go back to those pre-components here at this moment, right?
I see. So this is also, it's branded because it's coming from this Halloween Spirit brand.
Spirit Halloween,
Spirit Halloween, and then the fact that there's some crypto commerce here, because you can actually purchase these individual ornaments and put them into your house, and I'm guessing you have some incentives to do this decoration. You're getting more UPX currency.
Well, why do people go decorate their house in real life, right? Just to show something, they want to celebrate Halloween, and it's the same thing at the end of the day here. But the advantage was now you can go, and when you have those block explorers, you can go and
I see.
We're opening up soon what is called block explorer shops, those game pieces, and can sell them, and they're probably going to be worth for lots of people, some good money.
Got it. Let's move to the second example. Just a second.
Yeah, so this is a partnership or license agreement which we have with the NFL Player Association, and so we just recently launched that. And this is where we bring actually from the players, let's say 3D assets into the metaverse of Upland.
Right.
So what people actually now can do is they can purchase from players, let's say virtual jerseys, and they look very, very nice also on your mobile device, and spin around and can do that. And we call all that is called NFL PA Legits. So this is our brand around it. And now when you're a collector, right, you were able, for instance, to collect lots of things from the previous seasons. We're just opening up now the next season. So or the current season, where you can use those and collect them. And going back to my example is we gamify it. Now, the more you collect, the higher your fan score gets. Okay,
I see.
You get a fan score, and then on the day of a game, right, event. So the context, right? Go virtually to a stadium. And then, because the higher your fan score, the further you're up in the wait list, and the more higher the likelihood is that you get actually a special NFT, which you then again, can brag about or maybe put up on the secondary market and so on. So this is then the location and the context. So you see, it's always coming back. This gamified collection, you're trading and with other players and so on, and then bring that in. So that's a very exciting partnership we have here, where people, especially football fans, very pleased to have those NFL PA legits. And then this is also something what we call we have mementos, where people actually can one-of-one NFTs they can collect. They have especially they can maybe see, okay, which player is going to do some cool plays, right? And then you can have you see the NFT with all his stats, and you don't know that before the game, but after the game maybe you purchase it before the game, and then after the game it becomes really hot and becomes your highly valuable NFT.
And do these collectibles, people can actually sell them like the real estate, or they?
No, the way they work right now, they these assets they purchase them in the stadium, right, or in the stores right now going forward, and then they have them in their wallets and the asset wallets what we have, and we're going to soon introduce, let's say, where you can then use them in your home experience, right? So maybe then you want to maybe put that somewhere in some places in your home, and then maybe you're a fan of a certain player, right, and say, hey, come visit my home, and then you can show and brag.
It's like a showcase piece. Got it. I see. No, that's really, I really like the way you described how this brand integration is really touch on those three components that makes a good visual storytelling experience, because it's the location, the context, and the gamification of it. Gives it more utility and meaning than just you buy it and that's it.
That's the right word, utility, right? So when we always say, when you look at the NFT landscape, so I don't know how familiar your listeners are with NFTs, but the idea is, you have NFT drops. So you have, let's say, NFT marketplaces where stuff gets dropped, right? But then, that's where they are. Then you have maybe fan tokens, right? When you're in sports, right?
And communities,
maybe, and then you have maybe, and then you have the what we call
like rally
fantasy collectibles, right? Like where you collect stuff, and then you have the metaverse, right? So these are some of the four categories where people tend to act in, at least in the sports space. And that's how you can try to grasp what kind of different categories out there. Some brands, especially when you're sports entertainment brands, say, oh, we give exclusivity just to one category, but this is wrong. It's like in the old days, we've given exclusivity just to Twitter, right?
It doesn't make sense.
Snapchat or whatever. Right? So
it's a multi-channel strategy that needs to you need to play in a variety of gaming platform, in NFT marketplaces. Absolutely. And I'm kind of wondering, when, let's say, Coca-Cola comes to Upland and would like to do a brand integration, what is the typical process? How does it work?
Well, we've indeed, a lot of brands are reaching out now to us because we have this, unique proposition of being based on the real world, because there's endless use cases you can create around that. Normally, the step is we have if anyone's interested, you can ping us on partner@upland.me. It's an email address, and the way it works is usually we have a short kickoff meeting. Sometimes they come with concrete ideas.
I see.
Potential partners, and sometimes they actually want us to brainstorm with them. So that's, but I tend to say the latter. It's brainstorming with us 90% of the cases.
Because it's still so new, right?
Yeah, it's so new, right? And also, to be honest, it's not that we know immediately what to do with the brand, right? So we need to understand the brand better, what their inner values are, and all that stuff. And then we can start thinking about potential, concepts, how to integrate them into Upland, and that's the process. But it's I think what I would warn is, when you just to say, okay, we have to do something in the metaverse, you just get a check mark, right? We've done something, and your people, your community are not going to appreciate that. And then I would say it has even could have potential negative impact, right? If you just do something where you just say, hey, going to just, try to get money out of my people, or do just something which is not cool or reflected. Because truth is, communities have to, they can be very powerful these days. There's also a big change in the whole idea. When you think about, you had Web 1.0, which was basically commerce. Then you had Web 2.0, that was all social commerce. And now Web 3.0, I always call that community commerce. Community commerce means you get immediate feedback from your users. You have to really think about what it is. It's much stronger, and they're much more all over you about things. And if you don't do it right, community commerce, but also includes that you now integrate, because when you had at Web 2.0 social commerce, what you did is actually you had influencers talking about your product, and endorsing it, and so on. In Web 3.0 and the metaverse, this is now different. Your consumers, they become part of your whole sales process even. So if you make certain consumers fans of your brand, they can run and, let's say, operate in Upland, for instance, a shop and resell your products. Of course, you can go through some kind of vetting process, but that's what we have is that because they will talk good about your product, they will help, and so on. So it's not just you going direct to the consumers. Now you're using all the the community members to maybe sell your product.
I think it's a mix. The way you describe it, it's kind of interesting. It reminds me like maybe it's a combo between affiliate marketing and shareholder. It's a combo, because it's not like just join an affiliate program and you sell on behalf of the brand, but you also have skin in the game, right? Like if you can sell it and earn some markup that is outside the control of the brand, right? Because you set the price.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a big difference. Yeah. Cool. So again, going back to the brands, from what you've seen so far, working with brands, integrating them into Upland, what are the typical business goals that they come up with? I mean, is it generating sales, building awareness, loyalty? What is it exactly? Looking cool, that's comes with the package.
I think first of all, it's all of it, right? Of course, branding is one aspect always, right? That you're somehow in there, that you engage your consumers, your fans, and whoever around your brand. So that's one thing. Is sales is also something which is interesting, of course. When you find a way to bridge it to the real world, so as I said, when it's a gamified approach, people do some kind of a mini mission in the virtual world, but in order to get highly desired product in the real world. So of course, when you so that's where that all plays in. But it's also the direct feedback channel, which is important. So that's also something highly valuable, right? So that's what people can use. But it's not just feedback that people tell you about it, because obviously there's always haters and lovers and deal with that. But the other thing, what is new now, is what do people actually do with your product? How they're using it in a metaverse, right? Because you will be surprised what kind of new usage forms people will come up with you have not imagined, right? And that is something where you then learn, and you can, that has should have actually some feedback loop to your own product development going forward, right? So that's
so it's kind of almost like a real-time focus group that allows you to get some research that you maybe could apply later on. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. So when you complete a brand partnership program, let's say with the NFL or anybody else, do you report back on any success criteria, KPIs, performance, like redemption rate of assets, or how many people participated?
Yeah, absolutely. So we also have, for instance, a partnership with Hyperloop, right? And people are taking trains, virtual trains between Cleveland and Chicago, and so we're reporting them back how many people are taking the train, right? They want to know that, and how many people have been. So that's one KPI, right? And of course we tell the NFLPA, we let them know how much secondary market transactions have happened, right? Because it's not just the primary market sale, by the way, which is important. When you, let's say, a big sports brand, right? Eventually, future will tell, but I think brands are going to make even more money with secondary market transaction fees, because if you think about, let's say, you sell virtual football for $10, but then every secondary market transaction you get maybe X percent. Let's say, for the sake, make it easy to calculate, $1. Yeah, and you can think about when now this football changes hands 30 times, you made more money to a secondary sales than just through the primary sale. So, this is all new kind of aspects, we were reporting to, and then again, it depends a little bit, but that's something we put together, what their objectives are, right? And
of course,
come up with the right KPIs.
So here's a very exciting opportunity for you. You probably would love to have more brands integrated into Upland, but as you know, some brands are still on the fence because of some misconceptions. I'm kind of wondering, what are the typical misconceptions you coming across? And here you have the opportunity to kind of really, break them down.
Okay, what are the misconceptions? So misconceptions is, there's a lot of scam in there, and bad people and whatever. So I tend to say, which is not true. Of course, we have some scammers, but we're trying to exclude them. So if you, for instance, go against the terms of services in Upland, we sent you to Alcatraz, which is this prison island in San Francisco as a player, right?
I see.
So, but I tend to say, in general, there's if you find out about the project, there's a lot of projects out there when you go on their website, and you don't even find who's behind it and all that, right? I would be careful here, right? Even though it looks very professional, but you never know what these people are doing. So, so in our case, you can go on our about page, you see information about myself and my co-founders and so on, right? So it's all there. Right, so I think that's so you have to avoid that, but it's a wrong it's a misconception that everything in the metaverse is a scam, which is just
right.
Yeah. So
another one I'm guessing, is that's notion of that whole process of minting is taking kind of wasting a lot of energy.
Oh yeah, that's a good point you mentioned it. So I don't want to get too technical, but there's different types of consensus algorithms, especially when you think about blockchain metaverse. So, for instance, I just can say we're based on what is called proof of stake. So we're consuming, way less, a couple of thousand times less energy than, for instance, the Bitcoin blockchain. And on top, for instance, we actually did offset all of the energy consumption of the mainnet where our blockchain is based on. So in general, we're producing very little energy as such, right? So this is, other things are producing way more. Very
cool. And when people read about the metaverse, we talked about it, what it is, and the vision, and so people talk about it's going to be a unified virtual world, like that's going to replace the internet that we know today, with a single identity, with the you don't have to keep millions of passwords, right? And what is your opinion about where this metaverse is going and how it's going to look like and when it's going to be available? That's another interesting question.
So first of all, I think metaverse is a mindset, and we've been living in the metaverse for quite a long time already. It's something I go with my imagination, and then I stay in there. Maybe to just take a step back on, the evolvement of media. So when media came out, like in the 1920s, they had a black and white movie in a movie theater where someone was playing the piano, and there was a train going through a station. And people in the cinema were running out of the cinema because they thinking that the train would come
exactly.
Into the so we're kind of scared. And then media always comes closer to us. Then in late 30 38 or something was, I think, Orson Welles. He did a radio show called War of the Worlds, and people were listening to on the radio, and they thought now aliens are entering invading Earth. And they started fleeing and trying to get away from it. And then so that's where, and then you had television, then you had phones, mobile phones, the internet. We were using more and more of it. Now I think the next step will be you're going to use augmented reality glasses and virtual reality glasses. That's where people think, it's always VR. That's not true. Like the metaverse is much more than completely immersive experience. It's really also going in somewhere Upland is not VR. It's not
right. You don't need to have headset for
AR,
it.
Right? It's just, you don't need to have that, right? So I think we're already in there, and going forward, the future is the metaverse is going to be all around you all the time, right? Whatever you do, if you work, if you entertain or socialize, right? It's
a fluid computing environment that you can actually move from the physical to the virtual, and that's exactly the vision that was so well described in Snow Crash, that novel from '92, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. So to kind of sum up our chat, can you give just a kind of a summary again for any brand that is really interested and really want to get into the metaverse? What would you say your top 3 tips?
Yeah, I would. So first of all, I think I would have, the culture of experimentation, right? So that is first thing. So there's not, this is not like an ad, a standard ad you buy on television or whatever, right? So it's really try out different things. Try out different parts of the metaverse, because every metaverse is not, by the way, it's not going to be that one's going to win it all. Right. Even though some companies name them even after the metaverse, right? But it's not going to be that. People are going to be going to watch different TV channels. People be on different parts of the metaverse, assuming different identities, right? So try out different metaverse parts of the metaverse. And then also be open to explore new business models. So that's also something, that's because the metaverse are going to change the paradigm how you make money in the future.
Well said. No, I totally see that. I mean, it's definitely, if the big message we can send anybody is that now is time to experiment, as you said, because it's an open-ended opportunities for everybody to come up with, engaging visual stories that you're pretty much the author. I mean, you could be the first one doing your unique experience. You can never tell. So really take advantage. So before we go, if people have questions for you, how can they reach out?
So please feel free. I mean, as I mentioned, if you have ideas for a partnership, partner at upland.me, or just go to our website, www.upland.me. By the way, stands for Metaverse. So we incorporated 3 years ago.
I see.
Otherwise, you can reach me on Twitter. My name is Dirk Lueth, and bring me there. And
Excellent. No, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Dirk. This was amazing. I'm sure we're going to have lots of people kind of watching this and tuning in on the podcast networks, because this is so new to everybody. And people are dying to know, okay, what is it? What can I do with it? So again, thanks so much for your time today. And for all of you following, we'll see you in the next episode of the Visual Storytelling Today podcast. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.